The lights on the control room wall blinked red. Admiral Zethkar looked at the screen with his yellow eyes. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "What is that?" he asked. His voice was deep and rough like old stone. The scales on his neck stood up when he was worried. They were standing up now. Velnik sat at the sensor station. His clawed fingers moved fast over the buttons. "Sir, I see a ship. It is big, very big, and it is moving through our space." "Our space?" Zethkar walked closer, to the screen. "That is impossible. No one comes into Sector 7 Alpha without permission. Show me." The main screen changed. Now it showed a map of space with dots and lines. One dot was moving. It was bright red and moving fast. "How fast is it going?" Zethkar asked. "Faster than anything we have ever seen, sir. Much faster than our best ships." Zethkar felt cold. The Kelvari Empire had the best ships in the galaxy. Everyone knew that. Their ships were the fastest and strongest. But this ship was faster. "What does it look like?" Velnix pressed more buttons. A picture appeared on the screen. The ship was long and dark. It had a smooth shape like a knife cutting through water. Strange things stuck out from its sides. They looked like weapons, but not like any weapons the Kelvari knew. "Can you read its name?" "Yes, sir. It says USS Liberty, Earth Federation Navy." The control room became very quiet. Every Kelvari in the room stopped moving. Earth Federation Navy. Human Zethkar had heard stories about humans. They were a young race from a small blue planet. Nobody knew much about them. They had appeared in space only a few years ago. Some said they were dangerous, others said they were just lucky. "A human ship," Zethkar said slowly. "In our space. This has never happened before. What should we do, sir?" Zethkar looked at the screen again. The human ship kept moving through their space like it owned the place, like it was not afraid. "Call Fleet Command. Tell them we have a situation." Far away on the human ship, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He wore a dark blue uniform with gold stripes on his arms. "How are we doing, Lisa?" he asked. Lisa Chen sat at the navigation station. She was young with long black hair tied back. Her fingers moved over her controls like she was playing music. "We are right on course, Captain. The new quantum drive is working great. We will reach the next star system in 6 hours." "Good," Morrison said. He looked around his bridge. His crew was working hard. They were good people. The best Earth had to offer. Ryan Brooks called out from the engineering station. He was a big man with red hair and strong hands. "Captain, the quantum drive is running smooth. I have never seen anything like it. This ship is amazing." Morrison smiled. The USS Liberty was new. It was the most advanced ship Earth had ever built. The quantum drive let them travel faster than any other ship in known space. That was why they were here, testing it in the empty areas between star systems. "Danny, anything on the radio?" Morrison asked. Danny Walsh shook his head. He was the communications officer, a thin man with quick hands and sharp ears. "Nothing, Captain. Space is quiet out here." "That is how we like it," Morrison said. "Keep scanning." Amanda Price looked up from her science station. She had blonde hair and green eyes that missed nothing. "Captain, I am picking up some strange readings." "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures. Lots of them. They are far away, but they are big. Really big." Morrison stood up. "Show me." The main screen changed. It showed dots of light scattered across space. There were many of them. Too many. "Those look like ships," Morrison said. "Yes, sir, lots of ships. And they are all moving in the same direction." "Toward us?" Amanda checked her readings again. "It looks that way, sir." Morrison felt something cold in his stomach. They were supposed to be an empty space. There should not be any ships here, especially not that many ships. "Lisa, where are we exactly?" Lisa checked her navigation computer. "We are in grid section 7 Alpha, Captain. According to our maps, this space belongs to no one." "Well, someone thinks it belongs to them," Morrison said. He looked at the screen again. The dots were getting brighter. That meant they were getting closer. Back on Nexus Prime, Admiral Zethkar stood in front of a big screen. On the other side was Fleet Command. The face looking back at him belonged to Admiral Corthan, the head of all Kelvari military forces. "You are sure it is a human ship?" Corthan asked. His old face was covered in scars from many battles. "Yes, sir. Our computers confirm it. Earth Federation Navy. The ship is called USS Liberty." "How did it get into our space?" "We do not know, sir. It just appeared. It is moving very fast through Sector 7 Alpha." Corthan was quiet for a long moment. His red eyes stared at something. Off-screen. "Admiral Zethkar, you will watch this ship. Do not let it out of your sight. I am sending help." "How much help, sir?" "All of it." The screen went dark. Zethkar stared at it for a moment. All of it meant the entire Third Fleet, maybe more. He turned to Velnix. "Keep watching that human ship. I want to know everything it does." "Yes, sir." Zethkar walked to the Yadai, big window that looked out into space. Somewhere out there was a human ship. Just one ship. But it had caused more fear in the Empire than anything in years. He did not understand humans. They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be young and foolish. But this ship was not weak. It was strong and fast, and it was here, in Kelvari, space. "Why are you here?" he asked the stars. "What do you want?" The stars did not answer, but somewhere among them, the USS Liberty kept flying deeper into the Empire, not knowing that every second brought them closer to the biggest military response in Kelvari history. The Great Hall of the Kelvari Empire was silent. Emperor Vaxtul sat on his throne made of black stone. His golden eyes looked down at the War Council below him. Every important military leader in the Empire was here. The Emperor was old. Even, for a Kelvari, his scales were dark green with lines of silver. When he spoke, everyone listened. "Tell me about this human ship," he said. Intelligence Director Quindal stepped forward. She was smaller than the other Kelvari, but her mind was sharp like a blade. She carried a datapad in her clawed hands. "Your Majesty, the ship is called USS Liberty. It belongs to something called the Earth Federation Navy. It is currently moving through Sector 7 Alpha at incredible speed." "How fast?" "Faster than our best interceptors, Your Majesty. Much faster." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "That should not be possible. Our ships are the fastest in the galaxy." "Yes, Your Majesty. That is what we always believed." General Thax Moore, a large Kelvari with battle scars across his face, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, it is only one ship. We can destroy it easily." "Can we?" the Emperor asked. "Director Quindal, tell us what we know about humans." Quindal looked at her datapad. "Very little, Your Majesty. They come from a planet called Earth. It is a small blue world in a distant part of the galaxy. They only appeared in space a few years ago. And yet they have ships faster than ours?" "It appears so, Your Majesty." "What else?" "They are said to be unusual. Other races report that humans think differently. They do not follow normal patterns." "What does that mean?" Quindal hesitated. "They turn problems into solutions, Your Majesty. When other races give up, humans find new ways to fight." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was very tall, even for a Kelvari. "How many human ships are there?" "We do not know, Your Majesty. This is the first one we have seen in our space." "The first one we have seen anywhere," General Thaxmore added. The Emperor walked down the steps from his throne. His feet made soft sounds on the stone floor. "One ship has caused all this fear?" "Your Majesty," Admiral Corthan said, "it is not just the ship. It is what the ship represents. Humans are unknown. We do not understand them." "Then we will learn," the Emperor said. "Admiral Corthan, mobilize the Third Fleet." "Yes, Your Majesty." "And the Fifth Fleet." Admiral Corthan blinked his yellow eyes. "Your Majesty? Both fleets?" "And the Seventh Fleet." The War Council was very quiet. 3 fleets meant over 3,000 ships. It was the largest military force the Empire had used in 50 years. Your Majesty, General Thaxmore said carefully, that is a lot of ships for one human vessel. The Emperor turned to look at him. Is it? Tell me, General, how many ships did we use to conquer the Zephyrians? 200, Your Majesty. And the Crystalline Collective? 500, Your Majesty. And Now we will use 3,000 against one human ship. Does that seem like too many or too few? General Thaxmore did not answer. I want to know everything about this ship, the Emperor continued. I want to know where it came from, where it is going, and why it is in our space. Yes, Your Majesty, Admiral Corthan said. Far away on the USS Liberty, things were getting interesting. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge looking at the main screen. The dots of light were much brighter now. Amanda, how many ships are we looking at? Amanda Price checked her instruments. Her green eyes were wide with surprise. Captain, I count over 500 ships, and more are coming. 500? Morrison felt his heart beat faster. Are you sure? Yes, sir. The computer confirms it. 500 ships all heading this way. Steve Murphy looked up from his tactical station. He was a big man with dark skin and calm hands. Captain, those are military ships, big ones. They have weapons. Morrison sat down in his captain's chair. 500 military ships was not good news. Danny, are we getting any radio calls? Danny Walsh shook his head. Nothing, Captain. They are not talking to us. Lisa, how fast can we get out of here? Lisa Chen's hands moved over her controls. With the quantum drive at full power, we can be gone in 30 minutes. Do it. Wait, Amanda said. Captain, I am getting more readings. There are more ships coming from other directions. Morrison stood up again. How many more? A lot more, sir. I think we are surrounded. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone looked at the main screen. The dots of light were everywhere now. They made a circle around the USS Liberty with no way out. Well, Morrison said quietly, I guess someone wants to talk to us. Ryan Brooks called out from engineering. Captain, something is wrong with the quantum drive. Morrison walked over to the engineering station. What kind of wrong? I do not know, sir. It was working fine. Then it started making strange noises. Now it will not start. Can you fix it? I'd say indeed. I'm trying, sir. But I have never seen anything like this before. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was scared. He could see it in their faces. They were alone in alien space with 500 enemy ships around them and no way to escape. All right, everyone listen up, Morrison said. His voice was calm and strong. We are in a difficult situation, but we are still alive and our ship is still working. That means we have options. What kind of options, Captain? Lisa asked. We can try to talk to them. We can try to hide. Or we can try to fight. Steve Murphy laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. Fight 500 ships? Captain, we have good weapons, but we are not that good. Then we talk, Morrison said. Danny, open a channel on all frequencies. Yes, sir. Danny's hands moved over his controls. Channel open, Captain. Morrison took a deep breath. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Federation ship USS Liberty. We are on a peaceful mission through what we believe to be neutral space. We did not know this area belonged to anyone. Please respond. They waited. The seconds felt like hours. Anything? Morrison asked. No, sir, no response. Amanda looked at her screen. Captain, more ships are arriving. I count over 1,000 now. 1,000, Morrison repeated. They really want to make sure we do not leave. Captain, Lisa said, why would they send so many ships after us? We are just one ship. Morrison thought about that. It was a good question. Why would anyone send 1,000 ships after one ship unless they are afraid of us? He said out loud. Afraid of us? Steve asked. Why would they be afraid of us? Because they do not know what we can do, Morrison said. Think about it. We appeared in their space with technology they have never seen. We are faster than their ships. They do not know how many more ships like ours there are. So they are treating us like an invasion fleet? Amanda asked. Exactly. In their minds, we might be the first ship of a huge human fleet coming to attack them. The bridge was quiet as everyone thought about this. What do we do, Captain? Lisa asked. Morrison looked at the main screen. Over 1,000 alien ships surrounded them. His crew was looking at him for answers. They trusted him to get them home safely. We prove to them that we are not an invasion fleet, he said. We show them that we are just explorers who made a wrong turn. How do we do that, sir? Danny asked. Morrison smiled. It was not a big smile, but it was real. Very carefully, Danny. Very carefully. Admiral Kreshvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Fang. He was a proud Kelvari warrior with dark red scales and 3 scars across his left eye. He had won many battles for the Empire. Today, he would win another. Around his ship, the Third Fleet spread out in perfect formation. 2,000 ships all pointing their weapons at one small human vessel. It should have been easy. Communications Officer Nixtel, open a channel to the human ship, Kreshvar ordered. Yes, Admiral. Channel open. Kreshvar straightened his uniform and looked at the main screen. The human ship looked strange and dangerous, but it was still just one ship. Human vessel, this is Admiral Kreshvar of the Kelvari Imperial Navy. You have entered restricted space without permission. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. The response came faster than expected. A human face appeared on the EAO screen. It was a male with short brown hair and blue eyes. He looked calm, which surprised Kreshvar. Admiral Kreshvar, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Liberty. We did not know this was restricted space. Our maps show this area as neutral territory. We mean no harm to your people. Kreshvar studied the human's face. Humans looked strange to him. Their skin was soft and they had no scales. Their eyes were small and round. But this human did not look afraid. Captain Morrison, your presence here is an act of war. Surrender your ship now. Admiral, I understand your concern, but we are explorers, not warriors. We were testing our new drive system and may have wandered off course. If you will allow us, we will leave your space immediately. You will leave when we say you can leave, Kreshvar said. First, you will surrender your ship for inspection. On the USS Liberty, Captain Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him closely. They needed him to be strong. Admiral, Morrison said, I cannot surrender my ship, but I can offer you something else. What? Information. You want to know about humans and our technology. I can tell you what you want to know. Kreshvar was surprised. No enemy had ever offered to give information freely. Usually they had to take it by force. You would tell us your secrets? Some of them, yes, in exchange for safe passage out of your territory. Kreshvar looked at his officers. They seemed confused by the human's offer. He was confused too. Why would an enemy offer to help? Admiral, the human continued, we have no reason to fight. We do not want your territory. We do not want to hurt your people. We just want to go home. Behind Kreshvar, his tactical officer whispered, Sir, it could be a trap. Kreshvar nodded. Of course it could be a trap. But what kind of trap could one ship set against 2,000? Captain Morrison, you will prepare to be boarded. We will inspect your ship and question your crew. I am sorry, Admiral, but I cannot allow that. My ship contains sensitive technology that I cannot share. But I am willing to meet with you in person to discuss our situation. Meet in person? Yes. You can come aboard my ship with a small delegation. I will show you that we are not a threat to your empire. Kreshvar's officers looked at each other with shock. The human was inviting them aboard his ship. Either he was very brave or very stupid. That is not acceptable. Kreshvar said, You will come aboard my ship. With respect, Admiral, that would put my crew at risk, but if you are willing to come aboard mine, it shows good faith from both sides. Kreshvar thought about this. The human had a point. If the Kelvari were willing to board the human ship, it showed they were not afraid. And if it was a trap, he had 2,000 ships ready to destroy the human vessel. Very well, Captain Morrison. I will come aboard your ship with 5 officers. But if this is a trick, your ship will be destroyed instantly. Understood, Admiral. We will prepare to receive you. The channel closed. Kreshvar looked at his officers. They did not look happy. Sir, his tactical officer said, this is very dangerous. We know nothing about human weapons or technology. That is exactly why we must go, Kreshvar replied. We need to learn about these humans. This may be our only chance. On the USS Liberty, Captain Morrison called his senior officers together. Lisa Chen, Ryan Brooks, Danny Walsh, Amanda Price, and Steve Murphy gathered around the conference table. Captain, Steve said, are you sure about this, letting alien soldiers on our ship? I am not sure about anything, Steve, but fighting 2,000 ships is not a good option. What if they try to take over the ship? Lisa asked. Then we will deal with that when it happens. But I do not think they will. They are curious about us, not angry. Amanda looked at her datapad. Captain, I have been studying their ship designs. They are built for war, but they are old designs. Their technology is strong but not flexible. What does that mean? They build things to last forever and never change them. Humans build things to be improved and modified. Our technology grows and changes, theirs stays the same. Ryan nodded. That explains why they are so surprised by our speed. They probably have not improved their engines in decades. So they see us as something completely new, Morrison said. Something they do not understand. Yes, sir, and that scares them. Morrison stood up. All right, here is what we are going to do. We will welcome these Kelvari aboard our ship. We will be polite and honest. We will show them that humans are not monsters. What if they are monsters? Steve asked. Then we will learn that too. But I do not think they are. They could have destroyed us already if they wanted to. Instead, they want to talk. An hour later, a small Kelvari shuttle approached the USS Liberty. Captain Morrison and his officers waited in the shuttle bay. They had their weapons, but they were not drawn. The shuttle landed with a soft thud. The doors opened with a hiss of air. 5 Kelvari soldiers stepped out, followed by Admiral Kreshvar. Morrison was surprised by how tall the Kelvari were. Admiral Kreshvar was almost 7 feet tall with dark red scales that gleamed under the lights. His yellow eyes looked around the shuttle bay with interest. Admiral Kreshvar, Morrison said, stepping forward. Welcome aboard the USS Liberty. Kreshvar looked at the human captain. Morrison was much smaller than him, but he did not act small. The human stood straight and looked directly into Kreshvar's eyes. Captain Morrison, your ship is different from what I expected. How so? It is clean and quiet, and your crew does not look afraid. Morrison smiled. Should they be afraid? Most crews are afraid when they are surrounded by enemy ships. But you are not our enemy, Admiral. You are just someone we have not met before. Kreshvar studied the human's face. Morrison seemed to mean what he said, but that made no sense. How could someone not be afraid in this situation? Show me your ship, Captain Morrison. Of course. Right this way. As they walked through the corridors of the USS Liberty, Kreshvar noticed more strange things. The human crew members they passed did not run away or hide. They nodded politely and continued working. Some even smiled. Your crew is very calm, Kreshvar observed. They trust me to handle the situation. And you? Are you not afraid? Morrison stopped walking and looked at the Admiral. I am terrified, Admiral, but fear does not help anyone, so I choose to be hopeful instead. Kreshvar did not understand this at all. Humans were very strange creatures indeed. The tour of the USS Liberty was not going as Admiral Kreshvar expected. He had boarded many enemy ships before. Usually, they were full of weapons and soldiers preparing for battle. The human ship was different. Captain Morrison led them to the engineering section. The room was full of machines that hummed quietly. Lights blinked in patterns Kreshvar did not recognize. Everything looked clean and organized. This is our quantum drive, Morrison said, pointing to a large device in the center of the room. It allows us to travel faster than normal engines. Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks stood nearby. He was a big human with red hair and friendly eyes. He did not look like a warrior at all. How does it work? One of Kreshvar's officers asked. Ryan smiled. Well, it is complicated, but basically we bend space around the ship instead of pushing through it. Bend space? Kreshvar had never heard of such a thing. Yes, sir. Like folding a piece of paper to bring 2 points closer together. Ryan walked over to a control panel. His hands moved over buttons and switches with easy practice. The quantum field creates a bubble around the ship. Inside the bubble, space and time work differently. Suddenly, alarms began to ring. Red lights flashed on the walls. The humming sound of the quantum drive changed to a high whine. What is happening? Kreshvar demanded. Ryan's face changed from friendly to worried. Something is wrong with the quantum field. It is becoming unstable. Captain Morrison spoke into his communication device. Bridge, this is the captain. What is our status? Danny Walsh's voice came back through the speaker. Captain, we are getting reports from all over the ship. The quantum drive is affecting our other systems. How bad is it? The field is expanding beyond the ship, sir. It is getting bigger. Ryan was working fast at his controls. Sweat appeared on his forehead. Captain, I cannot shut it down. The field is feeding on itself, getting stronger. What does that mean? Morrison asked. It means the quantum field is going to keep growing until it reaches critical mass. And then? I do not know, sir. This has never happened before. Kreshvar felt fear creep into his mind. Will it explode? No, sir, Ryan said without looking, up from his controls. But it will send out a pulse of energy, a big one. How big? Big enough to reach your ships, Admiral. Kreshvar's yellow eyes went wide. You must stop this now. I am trying. Ryan's hands moved even faster. But I have never seen the quantum field behave like this. It is like it has a mind of its own. Captain Morrison touched his communication device again. All hands, this is the captain. We have a quantum field emergency in progress. All non-essential personnel should move to safe areas immediately. On the Kelvari flagship Iron Fang, chaos was beginning. Sensor operators watched their screens with growing alarm. Admiral, one officer called out, we are detecting massive energy readings from the human ship. What kind of energy? Asked the ship's captain. Unknown, sir. But it is growing stronger every second. Should we move the fleet away? I do not know, sir. We have never seen anything like this. Back on the USS Liberty, Ryan Brooks was fighting a battle against physics itself. The quantum drive was not designed to work this way. It was supposed to be controlled and predictable. Now it was wild and dangerous. Captain, he said, I need to try something, but it might make things worse. How much worse? The pulse could be 10 times stronger. Morrison looked at Admiral Kreshvar. The Kelvari leader's face showed fear and confusion. Admiral, I need you to order your ships to move back, as far as they can go. Why should I trust you? Kreshvar asked. Because if this quantum field reaches critical mass, it will affect every ship within 100 miles, including yours. Kreshvar spoke into his own communication device. All ships move back to maximum safe distance immediately. Sir, one of his officers protested, if we move back, the human ship could escape. Look around you, Kreshvar said. Do you think they are trying to escape? They are trying to save us all. The quantum field continued to grow. On the ship's main screen, it looked like a ball of blue light getting bigger and bigger. How long do we have? Morrison asked. Maybe 10 minutes, Ryan said. Maybe less. Morrison made a decision. Ryan, do whatever you need to do. Lisa, get ready to broadcast a warning to all ships in the area. What should I tell them, Captain? Tell them that we have a technology malfunction and there may be a large energy release. Tell them to move their ships as far away as possible. Lisa. Chen's hands flew over her controls. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Captain. On the Kelvari ships, the message was received with surprise. The humans were warning them about the danger. They were trying to protect their enemies. Admiral Kreshvar heard the message and felt something he had never felt before. The humans were not trying to hurt his people. They were trying to save them. Captain Morrison, he said, is there anything my ships can do to help? Morrison looked surprised. You want to help us? Your crew is trying to save my people. That makes you friends, not enemies. Morrison smiled. It was the first real smile Kreshvar had seen from him. Thank you, Admiral, but there is nothing your ships can do. This is a human problem with human technology, Ryan called out from his controls. Captain, I think I have an idea, but it is very dangerous. More dangerous than what is already happening? Yes, sir. I want to reverse the quantum field polarity. What will that do? It should collapse the field back into the drive. But if I am wrong, it could tear a hole in space itself. The room became very quiet. Everyone looked at Ryan. How big a hole? Morrison asked. Big enough to swallow this entire star system. Morrison thought for a moment. 2,000 Kelvari ships. His own crew. Millions of lives depending on his decision. Do it, he said. Ryan's hands moved to a red switch protected by a clear cover. He lifted the cover and looked at Captain Morrison. Sir, if this goes wrong, it will not go wrong, Ryan. You are the best engineer in the fleet, I trust you. Ryan nodded and flipped the switch. The quantum drive made a sound like thunder. The blue light around the ship flickered and changed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the light began to shrink. It is working, Ryan shouted. The field is collapsing. But as the field collapsed, it sent out a wave of energy in all directions. The wave moved at the speed of light toward the Kelvari fleet. All ships, Admiral Kreshvar broadcast, brace for impact. The wave hit the Kelvari ships like a giant, invisible hand. Every ship rocked and shook. Control panels flickered. Lights went out and came back on. But the ships survived. The wave passed through them without causing real damage. It was just energy, strange energy that their sensors could not understand. On the USS Liberty, the quantum drive finally became quiet. The blue light disappeared. The alarms stopped ringing. Status report, Morrison said. Quantum drive is stable, Ryan reported. All other systems are normal. Morrison looked at Admiral Kreshvar. The Kelvari leader was staring at the human crew with something like wonder. Your people, Kreshvar said slowly. They risked their lives to save mine. That is what we do, Morrison said. We help each other. Even enemies? You are not our enemy, Admiral. You never were. Admiral Kreshvar realized that everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. They were not conquerors or destroyers. They were something much more dangerous to the Empire. They were an example of what the galaxy could become. 3 hours after the quantum field crisis, everything had changed. Admiral Kreshvar sat in the conference room of the USS Liberty, across from Captain Morrison. Between them was a cup of something the humans called coffee. Kreshvar had never tasted anything like it. Your crew saved my entire fleet, Kreshvar said. 2,000 ships and over 1 million lives. Morrison sipped his own coffee. We did what anyone would do. No, Captain. You did what humans would do. My people would have used the crisis as a weapon. We would have threatened to destroy everything unless our enemies surrendered. But that would be wrong. Would it? Kreshvar leaned forward. For 1,000 years, the Empire has used fear and strength to control the galaxy. It has worked. Has it really worked, Admiral? Or has it just created more fear? Before Kreshvar could answer, Danny Walsh's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we have an incoming message. It is from someone calling himself Emperor Vaxtul. Morrison and Kreshvar looked at each other. The Emperor himself, Kreshvar said quietly. He has come. Should I be worried? Captain Morrison, you are about to meet the most powerful being in the galaxy. Yes, you should be worried. They went to the main bridge. On the screen was a face that commanded respect. Emperor Vaxtul was ancient even for a Kelvari. His scales were dark green with silver edges. His golden eyes had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. Captain Morrison, the Emperor said. His voice was deep and strong. I am Emperor Vaxtul of the Kelvari Empire. I have come to see this human ship that has caused such a stir. Your Majesty, Morrison said. I am honored to meet you. But I must ask why you have brought so many ships to see one small vessel. The Emperor was quiet for a moment. A fair question, Captain. Perhaps because your one small vessel represents something we do not understand. What do you think we represent? Change, Captain Morrison. Chaos. The end of order as we know it. Morrison thought about this. Your Majesty, may I ask you something? You may. Why does change frighten you so much? The question surprised everyone. On the bridge. Even Admiral Kreshvar's eyes went wide. No one asked the Emperor personal questions. But Emperor Vaxtol did not seem angry. Instead, he seemed thoughtful. Come aboard my ship, Captain Morrison. Bring your senior officers. I think it is time we had a proper conversation. 2 hours later, Captain Morrison, Lisa Chen, Ryan Brooks, and Amanda Price stood in the throne room of the Emperor's flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The room was huge and made of black stone. Hundreds of Kelvari officials and officers watched from the sides. Emperor Vaxtol sat on his throne, but he did not look comfortable. He looked like someone carrying a heavy weight. Captain Morrison, the Emperor said, Admiral Kreshvar has told me an interesting story. He says your crew risked their lives to save Kelvari ships. Yes, Your Majesty. That is true. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. Even though we surrounded your ship with weapons? Even though we threatened to destroy you? Morrison nodded. Even then. The Emperor stood up from his throne and walked down the steps. When he reached the bottom, he was only a few feet away from the humans. For 1,000 years, he said, the Empire has grown by conquering other races. We found civilizations and we gave them a choice. Join us or be destroyed. Most chose to join us. And that worked for you? It did. We brought order to the galaxy. We ended wars between planets. We created peace through strength. Amanda Price stepped forward. Your Majesty, may I ask what happened to the races that did not want to join? The Emperor's golden eyes looked at her. You know the answer to that question, young human. They were destroyed. Yes. The throne room was very quiet. Morrison felt the weight of history in the silence. Your Majesty, Morrison said, why are you telling us this? Because you have shown me something I did not expect to see. You have shown me another way. What do you mean? Emperor Vaxtol walked to a large window that looked out into space. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation, all pointing their weapons at nothing. When we first detected your ship, our response was automatic. Unknown threat equals military response, surround it. Demand surrender, use force if necessary. That seems reasonable for protecting your territory. Does it? Look at what happened, Captain. You wandered into our space by accident, a simple navigation error. But instead of talking to you first, we mobilized 3 entire fleets. Over 3,000 ships to deal with one lost vessel. Morrison joined the Emperor at the window. You were protecting your people. Was I, or was I protecting something else? What? The idea that the Empire is always right. The idea that we are stronger than everyone else. The idea that we control everything. Emperor Vaxtol turned away from the window. Your ship is faster than ours, Captain Morrison. Your technology is more advanced. Your crew works together in ways ours do not. And yet you came in peace. We always come in peace, Your Majesty. That is who humans are. And that terrifies me more than any weapon you could carry. Morrison was confused. Why? Because if humans can be strong without being cruel, if you can be advanced without being arrogant, if you can be powerful without being destroyers, then what does that say about us? The throne room was so quiet that Morrison could hear his own heartbeat. It says that there is more than one way to be strong, Morrison said softly. Yes. And if there is more than one way to be strong, then the Empire has been wrong for 1,000 years. Emperor Vaxtol walked back to his throne, but he did not sit down. Instead, he stood beside it. Captain Morrison, I am going to do something that no Kelvari Emperor has ever done. What is that, Your Majesty? I am going to admit that we were wrong, About you, about humans, about many things. He looked around the throne room at all his officials and officers. Many of them looked shocked. The Empire will not attack human ships, the Emperor announced. We will establish communication with your Earth Federation. We will learn from each other instead of fearing each other. General Thaxamore stepped forward. Your Majesty, is that wise? We still know very little about humans. That is exactly why it is wise, General. We have spent 1,000 years conquering things we did not understand. Perhaps it is time to try understanding instead. Captain Morrison felt something lift from his shoulders. The weight of fear and tension was finally gone. Your Majesty, on behalf of all humans, I thank you. I think this could be the beginning of a friendship between our peoples. I hope so, Captain. I truly hope so. 6 months later, Captain Morrison stood on the observation deck of the USS Liberty. Through the window he could see a sight that still amazed him. Human and Kelvari ships were working together, exploring a new star system that neither race had visited before. Lisa Chen joined him at the window. Hard to believe how much has changed, isn't it, Captain? Sometimes the best things happen when you are not looking for them, Morrison said. The Emperor was right, you know, about humans being different. How so? Most races would have used the quantum field crisis as a weapon. We used it as a chance to save lives. Morrison smiled. That is what humans do, Lisa. We turn problems into solutions. We turn enemies into friends. We turn fear into hope. Think it will last? The peace between humans and Kelvari. Morrison watched a human ship and a Kelvari ship flying side by side through the stars. The sight filled him with something he had not felt in a long time. I think it will last as long as we remember that being different does not make us enemies. It just makes us interesting. Lisa laughed. Captain, when we started this mission, we were just testing a new engine, and we ended up testing something much more important. What is that? Morrison looked out at the stars where human and alien ships were writing a new chapter in galactic history together. We tested the idea that the universe is big enough for everyone. The USS Liberty continued on its journey through space, no longer alone. Behind it followed new friends, new possibilities, and new hope for a galaxy that had forgotten how to dream. In the end, the greatest weapon humanity brought to the stars was not their technology or their ships. It was their belief that even the greatest enemies could become the greatest friends if someone was brave enough to try.